NHL picks for Monday, April 27th. Welcome in, guys. PuckTime, a WagerTalk TV. 2 games for you guys today in the NHL. We are going to look forward to breaking things down for you guys. Sides, totals, props, elimination game thoughts. How about those Vegas Golden Knights? How about those Utah Mammoth? We'll talk about a couple of these teams, of course, today. And I'm sure with just the two of us, Carmine and I will have some chit chat as well along the way. Hope you guys all had a winning weekend. I will start off with this. We did lose a 5% play yesterday. Very tough. We were on a 8-1 run with 5% hockey plays. And the Oilers scored 3 or 4 goals in the first 3 games. I released over 3.5. Carmine, they scored 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game, and they don't get me 2 more. So that was tough. But the Oilers, they found themselves in kind of a hole here, down 3-1. I'm sure we'll talk about that game and that series tomorrow, though. But you had a weekend with Brian Leonard. I'm sure you had a weekend enjoying a lot of sports. What's going on with you, Carm?
Yeah, I'm exhausted. Brian's, I'm not going to say Brian's high maintenance because he's not, but he's probably about as low maintenance as you can get. He's just, all right, let's do this. All right, let's do that. So he was good. Kind of like the Oilers defense at times. All right, you got him. I got him. Okay, I thought you had him. No, sorry, I thought you had him. It's just that series is insane. You know, they're 4 games into that one. 7 goals scored in at least every game. One with I think 10 and one with like 11. It's crazy. Defense has gone out the window, and it's playing right into Anaheim's hand. They'd love to play these offensive games, Andrew. It is crazy what is going on right now in Edmonton, but they find themselves down 3-1 and in a hole. And putting anybody's favoritism on or bets aside on the Anaheim Edmonton game last night, I'm going to say this. I think it was an absolute cluster F, if you know what I'm talking about, by the referees to rule that goal in OT as a goal. And here's the reasoning why. Because there was no goal, there was no referee behind the net. The best one had an angle on the sideboards, and that's it. And he came in, and because the players are celebrating, they decide to award the goal. When you award the goal, and it's going to get reviewed by Toronto, there has to be conclusive evidence that it crossed that the puck did not cross the line. Here's the problem. If the refs ruled it no goal, it would have stayed as no goal because it was inconclusive. So how does the referee from like 40 feet away, when they can't even see a penalty 2 feet in front of them, be able to see that the puck had enough white between the line and being in? Exactly, I think that's an absolutely terrible decision. You should have left it up to New York. They should have discussed it and said, you know what, if we rule in no goal, it's going to be reviewed, and in review, they'll have all the angles available to them that we don't, because the referees don't ultimately make the final decision. It is made by Toronto. So with that said, it's what it is. We'll see what the Oilers have, but I don't feel too good about the Oilers right now. Yeah, we'll talk more about it tomorrow.
But I'm
you know another one I like.
I'm with you. I do think it's weird that, look, the way I look at it is this. It was 100% across the line, and we got a comment from UC Panda, and I know we got to move on. It was 100% across the line. What people are upset about is exactly what Carmine just said, that there were no referees nearby to even confirm that that puck went in. So when they went to review it, there wouldn't have been conclusive evidence because the skate was blocking the view. So everybody in the world knows the puck was probably crossed the line, but if we're going by the rules, there was not even an official nearby that could have made that rule. That's kind of the way it works. But anyway, I got to say this. I couldn't have been more wrong about the Ducks, because I will put hand up. Hey, most people on shows won't do this. This was the absolute worst matchup possible for the Edmonton Oilers, I think. The people, Kevin Bieksa talked about it on the show on Sportsnet. He said that they got the LA Kings the last 4 years, an old and slow team. Now you got a young and fast Anaheim Ducks team, Carm. So look, it's a game we'll talk about tomorrow, but ended with a bang. And can't forget about my Montreal Canadiens losing as well. That was tough, but tied 2-2 going back to Tampa. But today we have Philly, Pitt, Vegas, and Utah. I'll send it over to you, Carm. Any final thoughts and set us up for the first game?
Yeah, the final thought is always going to be, listen, when they showed you the angle from above the net and you're looking at the puck with the skate blade over it, you cannot see that the puck is cleared. But your mind tells you, okay, it is a round puck. It is there. There's got to be some white space there. But it's not there's got to be some space there. You have to be able to see the space there. That's what conclusive evidence is not that, hey, if we measured the puck, pretty sure it's gone past the line. That's not how the rules are made. So with that said, I think the refs pooched that one. But with that said, Andrew, I love the fact that Sidney Crosby, you know what I mean? He's just like, okay, we won game 4, big game for us. We're going home, game 5. They have solved, or have they solved, Andrew, Dan Vladar, because that was not the best game for the Philadelphia Flyers, and we can look at it here. Now you got the Pens minus 137, Andrew. Flyers plus 113. Total sits here at 5.5. I cashed the 5% play on Saturday night on the over between these two. Needed an empty netter, but there was over 7 XG produced in that game. The goals had to come. They were eventually going to come. I just hate waiting till the empty netter in order to win, but I will take it.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, congratulations on your 5% play. It was a great call by you. And you know what? I had an over 5.5 last week, and it got there by 1, but it doesn't really matter, Carm, how you win them, because it was the right call. Win by 1 or win by 2 doesn't matter. And I was on last call with Kelly Stewart on Saturday, and I spoke with her about how I am not a usual puck line bettor. I don't typically bet the puck lines, but in elimination games, I talked about how it would work with the Hurricanes over the Senators. And even you see overs more in those games. Now, this was an elimination game, except for Pittsburgh ended up winning. But even in the games that are elimination games, and you typically see that team bounce back just to avoid getting swept, they typically need to score some goals as well. A lot of times that team is not going to survive by winning 2-1 or 3-2. They're going to have to score some goals. So great call there by you. Pittsburgh gets it going. They get some shots on goal. One thing I noticed, and I talked about this for a while. Look, playoff hockey, Carm, we all know playoff hockey is different than regular season hockey. More physical, a lot of stuff going on. People said this, and I questioned it at first, but I couldn't agree more now. Pittsburgh was falling into the physical stuff too much in the first 3 games. I found that in the game 4, Carm, they went out there and they played hockey. They didn't worry about anything else. They went out there and played their game, did their thing. I also noticed they shot the puck a hell of a lot more. I talked a lot going into this series about taking Dan Vladar over on his save prop. And now, especially that the series is back in Pittsburgh, and I'm going to put it lightly here, they were awful when they were in Pittsburgh. But now you get the home change again. You're back at home. You were disastrous when you were at home before. If you can pepper Dan Vladar even more, that benefits them again, whether you want to take a look at shots on goal props or Dan Vladar save props. But Carm, from where I'm sitting, I think it's another good day to look at Dan Vladar save props. And you asked me if they've solved Vladar a little bit. I potentially agree, but I also think that this team realized they have to start shooting more. They have to get pucks on net. So the under is actually juiced. So I'm getting a minus 105 price here on over 23.5 saves for Dan Vladar. If this Pittsburgh Penguins team is going to produce offensively, they're going to get shots on goal. Last thing I'll say, Carm, before I throw it back to you is just reiterate my thoughts that I mention every single year on puck time in the postseason. The third period overs, the puck lines, the empty net magic. If the Philadelphia Flyers win this game, there's a very, very strong chance they'll win by 2 goals. So if you look at Philly and you like them tonight, I believe that the team total is the way to go. Just ask Carolina how they feel about puck lines and team totals and third period overs, because that game was pretty crazy in the final few minutes.
Yeah, it was. It escalated for totals bettors, that's for sure. But that series is done. First elimination, the Ottawa Senators. So we'll see who is next. Andrew,
Hey,
the thing with this game is, sorry. Oh yeah, LA. They were the first. LA was the second.
Yeah.
So, but the point I'm trying to make here, like on these games, and why I think Pittsburgh might be the right side tonight, is that this series started off the way the Flyers wanted to start this series off, which was a tight game, low scoring, allow their goalies or goalie to do his job, shots to the perimeter, stop Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin. They're stars, slow them down. And as the series progressed, Crosby started to get back into it. Malkin's getting into it. Everyone on that team seems to be getting into it. And from an analytics point of view, every single number has been going up, whether it's scoring chances, high danger chances, XG in this series. And there's a reason why both games in Philadelphia went over the total. Now they return here, Andrew, and I think a higher scoring game obviously favors the Pittsburgh Penguins. I like the Pens in this spot, Andrew. And I have absolutely no problem laying the 137. The interesting stat is this, and if you want to come on screen, Andrew, to discuss this one's from Ralph Michaels. So this is like the fade or follow stat. Game 5, home teams, home favorites, down 3-1 with at least 1 day's rest, which is applicable here. 2-9 with an average line of about 148. It's 137 in this game. A minus 76.2 ROI. Small sample size, but if you're losing, if your rate of return is minus 76, you got to find a new sport to bet on. Thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah, I think, looking at this, Carm, we joke around about the gentleman's sweep, right? You talk about the handshakes. It's like, okay, we won one. We go out with some pride. At the end of the day, I still think it's an issue with the Penguins. Their depth scoring has not been there. Like Crosby had a goal and an assist in that game for them. I think Carlson scored. Was that right? So, I mean, this is a team that going into the playoffs was a top 5 goal scoring team in the league. And now Igor Chirnikov has done nothing. We've seen Brian Rust not do a whole lot. We've seen a lot of these guys not step up. Anthony Mantha hasn't been very good. So the question you ask yourself, this stat in particular here, I mean, let's face it, this stat benefits the gentleman's sweep. Like this is like, hey, look,
yeah, it does.
You avoided you avoided getting embarrassed, but you're probably going to lose in 5. So the only thing that I think is like, I'm not as confident in Pittsburgh as I was on Saturday. That's for sure. But the only thing I wonder is if this was like flipped the other way, like if it was Pittsburgh going back to Philly, then I'd be like, okay, Philly had that one loss. They go back home, they get the job done. But we ask ourselves all the time, how much do we care about home ice advantage? But if Pittsburgh can pull one off at home after 2 abysmal home efforts, then all of a sudden we have ourselves a series. So we'll see what ends up happening here. And I respect what Dan Muse did. And I got to point this out, Carm. Both the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins made a goalie change. I believe they were the second and third team in the playoffs to make a goalie change. And of course, one of them has a former Penguin on them and one of them has a former Oiler on them. But he said, I'm not blaming the goalie, but sometimes you have to change something up, right? And look at even Buffalo with Alex Lyon and UPL, right? Like, do you think that that Stuart Skinner played horribly? He actually played well the first 2 games, but Dan Muse had to change something. He had to make a change.
Yeah, when you're losing 3-2 games or 2-1 games, I don't think you put it on your goalie unless one of them is an absolutely brutal, brutal goal on him. It's the same with, okay, I get the Oilers had to make the change. Connor Ingram had allowed 14 goals or something like that in 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. You got to get it. You got to get him out of there. Maybe that stirs up the team. Is it his fault? Maybe not. You got to watch the games and see, but he's not getting a lot of defensive help from this team, especially like on the power play or the penalty kill when Anaheim's on the power play. But you look at it, Pittsburgh made that change to Shilov's, and I like the way the guy's playing. So it is another one where sometimes you bring in a goalie and he just stacks the pads, plays great, and gives your team some life. Can Pittsburgh come back from 3-0 in this series? I have no clue, but we're not trying to predict if they're going to win the series. We're just going to try and predict whether they win tonight. It's a 1 game or go home. So I like the Pens in this spot. I think they send it back to Philadelphia. I would love that because we get to see some more hockey in the first round. But how good would that be knowing a Game 6 in Philadelphia where we could possibly see a Game 7 following, right? All the pressure would be on Philadelphia in that spot. I have to think Vidar probably bounces back. I think it was just 1 bad game. How long has it been since he's played back-to-back bad games?
Yeah.
I don't remember any.
That's what I'm saying. 23.5, Carm. What do you think? Like over 23.5 saves. Yeah. I think Pittsburgh's going to get their shots, man. I've liked these save props this postseason.
Yeah, and I don't think at all Talkett would do something along the lines of, let's say Vidar has allowed 3 or 4 goals in the second period. I don't think he pulls him. I think he leaves him out there because the guy's a competitor. He wants to be there. And you need to have his head clear for a possible Game 6. So the last thing you want to do is pull a goalie. Sometimes they want to stay out there. Jerry Swayman, if you guys saw Jeremy Swayman yesterday, as he's getting pulled in the third period after allowing all 6 goals to the Sabres, he had something to say to his players on the bench. Marco Sturm in his post-game press conference, I was listening to it, and they asked what he said, and he wouldn't repeat. He just says, he's fired up. He's he's into this. He's a playoff goalie. You know what I mean?
Didn't blame him at all.
He's upset. No, he didn't. So it's one of those things. But it's the Sabres, man. Sabres.
Well, it makes me mad that you brought that up because I did give out over on saves for Swayman, and the funny thing is, even though they were down 5-0. He still was like 3 saves away from hitting it. We're like 3 saves away. And then they put Korpisalo in. I was like, and the crazy thing is like, did you see what Charlie McAvoy said? He said, if you're a hockey player and you're not effing embarrassed after that game, then I don't know what to tell you. And everybody else was saying, wow, that's good for the accountability. It's a good look for players to be accountable. And then I was thinking, man, could you have kept Swayman in for 3 more saves? All I needed was 3 more saves. And so now I hope he's going to get it more. But so tonight you got 23.5 for Vladar, and Shilov's is 22.5. Now, because I know half the group loves expected goals and half the group doesn't, we'll just look at the expected goals for this series so far. And expected goals per game, you've got Philadelphia at 2.94, but you've got Pittsburgh at 2.27. So Pittsburgh's been, very, very, very quiet as far as their shots on goal are concerned. But I noticed last game they were being a lot less specific. Like that goal that Sidney Crosby scored, let's be honest, it was just a quick release. It wasn't a fancy, nice goal by any means. It was trying to catch the goalie off guard, right? But yeah, Carm, so that's going to be my only play for the show. is that save prop. I will put this out there for those interested because I say this every year. Your sports books right now, if you log into any sports book, you're able to bet the third period over before the game even starts. And a lot of times you actually are going to get a better price if you bet that pre-flop than if you bet it during the game. So whether you think that they're going to close out the series or Pittsburgh's going to keep it going, a lot of times, even in these closeout games, Carm, a lot of these series, obviously besides the games that have gone to overtime, we've seen victories of 2-3 goals. Like, that earlier game with Penguins and Flyers, like Flyers dominated earlier in the series. So I'm never a puck line guy, but the funny thing is a lot of times in the playoffs, we actually see puck lines come in.
Yeah. You're gonna see I think your point at the beginning of the show, the puck lines like in elimination games. If you feel if you're going to take the team that can close out the series, I think you're better off taking the puck line. The games are very rarely going into overtime, and they're settled in 60 minutes. And when they're settled in 60 minutes, they're yanking that goalie a little early. Some of the decisions to pull the goalies have been weird in this series, but with that, that said, who was it? Someone pulled their goalie with about 9 minutes left. Was it? I think that might have been the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yep.
Utah game. 9 minutes left. That didn't work out for them. Speaking of Utah and the Vegas Golden Knights, Andrew, minus 118 on Vegas. Down 2-1 in this series. Utah minus 102 at home. The total sits here at 5.5. Again, shaded to the over 126. Where are you going with this one?
Man, we got to give credit, number one, to the Utah crowd. And number two, we got to just continue to give credit to Dylan Guenther. What a snipe that guy has on him. What a shot he has on him. He has been fantastic for the Utah Mammoth. So good for them. They lead the series now 2-1. They got the split in Vegas. They win game 1 at the Delta Center. But I think Vegas responds. I think this number is relatively where it should be at this point. But this, out of all the first period wagers I've released on the show over the last little while, I would say this is a first period spot if I ever saw one, minus 120 on the first period. First team to score, first period, plus 125, Vegas Golden Knights. I feel like that one's kind of interesting to look at. And you can also look at over 1.5 goals in the first period for the Vegas Golden Knights at a pretty good price of like a plus 160, 170. So I'll be looking at that. I think Vegas first period is the way to go here. They come out strong. They're a veteran-built team. If Utah gets the lead and plays their kind of hockey, forget about worrying about the money line because that's going to be over. And you know what's funny is people were coming into this series saying, we're really confident because Carter Hart's played well down the stretch, but we're a bit worried about Utah's goaltending. And Utah's goaltending has been pretty good the last 2-3 games even, I'll say, especially the last 2. But I'm looking for the first period, though. The depth has to show up for Vegas. Hats off to Utah and how they played on Saturday night. But I think the first period, and also first period, first goal, plus 125, Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I had Utah for clients on the Saturday. Andrew, I just figured, listen, I'm still not sold, and this isn't me trying to beat down on the Vegas Golden Knights. Still not sold that they have fixed all the issues that they had in the last month. Yes, they brought in Tortorella, and the guy went 7-0-1. But there was one meaningful game on that of those 8 games, and that was the one against the Edmonton Oilers, who they caught in a bad scheduling spot. So you can only beat the teams they put in front of you. But they're now facing a Utah team, and it's a 7-game series, and Utah knows how to play against this Golden Knights team, and they're not afraid. They're going out there and they're playing well, and every time Vegas makes a mistake, Utah makes them pay for it, which is what brings me up to this play here, Andrew. And I'm just going to turn this into
Sorry, Carl.
Our pod play, which is going to be The first period of money line on Utah. That's the two-way money line, minus 105 in this one. During the regular season, Utah had the 7th best record at home after 20 minutes on home ice. Trailing only 10 times in 41 games at home. They had the lead in 17 of those, I believe. The worst team in the NHL in the first period, the Vegas Golden Knights. They only held the lead in 11 games all season long on the road. Now, you can say that's regular season. I get it. But 3 games into the playoffs, at the end of 20 minutes, Utah has led in 2 of the 3 games, and they've been tied in the other. If you're betting Utah first period in this series, you're making money, and that's where we're going with the pod play. Utah, first period, money line, minus 105.
So we're head-to-head, is what you're telling me.
Yes, we are head-to-head. It's all good.
I will say this, Carm.
That's how you create a market. Different opinions.
Exactly. No, that's how we get rid of the market, and we just bet each other.
Yes.
We skip the middleman. Skip the middleman. Do you feel that going into this series, there was maybe a distinct advantage for like one team with the overs, and now it's like, no, Utah will play whatever kind of hockey Vegas wants them to play. Like I thought that Vegas had more depth than they do, but it's very apparent they can skate right with them line for line. It seems like right now.
Andrew, I'm not sure if I'm going to put this the right way, but the Knights, like in years past, have had like a certain aura. You know what I mean? It comes from like their Stanley Cup winning season and what have you. They get onto the ice and you're just like, wow, these guys look big. They're physical. They got stars. They got 2-3 really good lines, a goaltending duel. That's good. And that's changed over the last year or so. When I look at the Vegas Golden Knights, they used to be like one of my top 5 or top six teams in power rankings, and they're not. They're just outside, on the outside looking in. There are much different teams. I get it. 2 teams play a different style in a series, but I just can't see the Vegas Golden Knights beating a team like Dallas or beating a team like Minnesota or Colorado in a 7-game series. The way they're playing right now, they'd have to get outstanding goaltending, and all of a sudden all lines have to be performing. And then from the East, there's probably 2 or 3 very good teams that I think would beat them in a 7-game series. So I know the Canes would. So there's one there. But that's just how I feel about them. And they're going to have to play a very good game tonight. Going down 3-1, returning home, I get it. You've got to win, 3 straight, and you got 2 to 3 at home. You may never get to that last one at home. If they lose tonight, there's a good chance that this series will be over before Game 6 even rolls around or has a chance to roll around.
And do you think that when we look at this defensive and goaltending deal here for Vegas, do you blame the offensive players or defense and goaltending for the recent loss? I mean, Carter Hart definitely didn't have his best game, but I also think the offensive players didn't show up either.
Yeah, but that's the thing is their puck moving through the neutral zone to try and get it into into Utah's half of the ice and get some ozone time and cycle the puck. This was the thing with them. They always had like Big D, and they squeeze those pucks in, keep them in there, and just wear teams down. Now it just doesn't seem like that. They just seem like a very good team, but one that can easily be upset on any given night where they are favored, and they're favored in this spot here, minus 118. I think they're favored basically because they're down 2-1 in the series, and people expect the Vegas Golden Knights to win this because they won the Pacific Division. But if things hadn't played out with the schedules in the last week of the season, the Vegas Golden Knights could have gone from winning the Pacific to being a wild card team. Right? It's just as simple. If they didn't get to play Vancouver a couple times, Calgary a couple times, Chicago. So, with that said, and the Seattle Kraken, who they played a couple times. So it wasn't the hardest schedule for them. They won their games. Kudos to them. But I think against this Anaheim team, this Utah team, Utah's playing some solid hockey, trying not to make any mistakes and utilizing home ice. And we'll see if they can do it again tonight.
Is it just me, or is it kind of like we talked about we talked about like those even Brian got into it about how the format and everything like that. I truly believe, and maybe I'm saying this because I'm going to be away during the second round, but it feels like the first round has been pretty rock solid. Besides, I mean, those two sweeps weren't great, but I kind of worry about the second round being a little bit lopsided. And unfortunately, if Tampa Bay gets through, it feels like it'll be Tampa, Carolina. And then it feels like it'll be Colorado against probably the winner of the Oilers series. Like and I remember on the show, I gave out 18-1 for the Ducks to win the Western Conference when we were on Puck Time. And I'm like, that's a bad bet. Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, that's got some life to it a little bit here. But, it just seems to me like it's kind of a collision track here where, and I told you, I thought that whichever team won the Habs and Lightning series, I think could go to the conference finals. And you're a Buffalo fan, but it feels like Carolina and Tampa Bay. Like, I always brag about how I love hockey because it's such a separated league. Anything can happen any night. But at the same time, Colorado, big favorites. They sweep. They're probably going to go to the finals again. They were favorites all year. Carolina favorites all year. Tampa favorites all year. Maybe it'd be good for the league if your Buffalo Sabres actually beat and go ahead, because like it's good for the advertisement of the sport to see upsets. You get what I'm saying?
It's if the Sabres, and it's a huge if, Sabres made it to the Stanley Cup Finals against Colorado, it would be billed as the David and Goliath Stanley Cup. Colorado would be probably a minus 270 to minus 300 series winner price. And I think they would be favored in pretty much every game or a pick 'em for the games that are in Buffalo. But we're a long way from that ever happening.
All right.
Stuff.
I got a prop for you.
They have to close out the Boston Bruins first. And I expect Swayman to be so much better tomorrow night. They were embarrassed. We'll see if there's any spine on the Boston Bruins. I would think, Andrew, if there was a 6 out there in the Sabres game when it came out, but it's probably going to be 5.5, I would be jumping on the under in an elimination game, just because I expect the Bruins to be that much better on defense. They did Swayman no favors. So my thoughts.
No, they didn't. They didn't help him at all. They did not help him at all. I'm not ignoring the Sabres, guys. I'm more so just saying, like, Carolina were the favorites of the East and Colorado were the favorites of the West. That's all I really meant to say. So as much as I love hockey, and hey, that's all I'm saying.
I have my New Jersey, which I picked up when I was at the Buffalo and Detroit game, Tage Thompson. So I have that. I love wearing it to like a Leafs bar and just walking in and saying, "Hey guys, playoff time." But my wife hates it. She's like, "One of these days, a bunch of people are just going to jump you and beat you up." I'm like, well, if they're Leaf fans, it's not really going to hurt.
It would be different if they were actually in a playoff series, but they're not even in the playoffs. So
no, they are not. They are not.
All right, Andrew, I got prop really quick.
Yes, prop bet. Give us a prop bet, man.
I did give out the Dan Vladar one, but let's dive into this one. We did cash with Vasily Podkolzin on Friday, so we're on a good run with the player props. And ever since we moved to just one and done, one pick and one only, done a hell of a job with it. Guys, minus 140 with this one. I've been liking the plus money or the close to even as possible, but minus 140 for Mitch Marner assist prop. Look, we all know Mitch Marner doesn't really score goals in the playoffs. Not much of a goal scorer, especially in the postseason. but he is a playmaker. He can move the puck. He's out there on the power play. Vegas finds themselves down 2-1 in the series. I think Marner will find the stat sheet. I don't think he's scoring tonight. I think he's going to get an assist, and I think he'll find somebody like Mark Stone or Jack Eichel, and they'll put the puck in the net. So one and done, one play only. Mitch Marner, 1 assist at -140. 4% play for me, NHL, WagerTalk.com. 3% NBA play. And we are off that big loss yesterday. We got to get it going. We did crush it on last call on Saturday, talking about Pittsburgh surviving and Ottawa going to Cancun. So that was nice. And I'll tell you guys, this afternoon, the head office is on it right now for me. We've got a deal getting put together. CFL, buy the CFL package, Canadian Football Summer. We're going to get the rest of the NHL for free, no added costs. You join me. We've made money over the CFL seasons. We up last year. We were number 1 at the website. We cashed the Grey Cup winner. We hit props. I'm going to be adding props to the portfolio this year in the CFL. If you guys want to ride with 21 weeks, CFL season, postseason, you guys get my CFL package. You get the rest of my NHL picks for free in that bundle. That's WT.buzz/AM. Back over to you, Carm.
All right, so let's get it rolling. Good weekend for me, I think, overall. 3-1-1 NHL with a 5% winner, 5-1-1 across the soccer plays. So let's see. This is a huge week. A lot of NHL games that I like. And, of course, Champions League and Europa League semifinal action on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll have one play up for Tuesday as part of the $5 Customer Appreciation Day for Champions League, and then I'll also have an NHL play up as part of that as well too. But that's it, guys. Tomorrow, the Prez is here. He's here because he wants to talk Buffalo Sabres. He's a newly appointed Sabres fan now. So we'll see how that goes. And Brian Leonard and Don Buster later this week. For myself, Andrew McInnis, this has been Puck Time. Please hit that like button, and best of luck to you guys tonight.